Hi, I'm Amanda Edwards, and I'm here talking with Dr. Willie about his experience as both a veteran as well as someone who has actually treated veterans. We want to hear more about his perspective about where there are gaps and where those gaps can be filled in our U.S. system. Dr. Willie, thank you for being here and inviting me here today to talk to me a little bit about your experiences.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Um, as she said, I'm Dr. Joseph R. Willie II. I'm a second generation dentist. My father, Dr. Joseph R. Willie Sr., who's passed away a few years ago, but he practiced in this town and county for 52 years. And of those 52 years, I practiced 29 with him. We had a general dentistry practice, which included all forms of people in Houston and Harris County, including veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were looking at that, you and I were sharing earlier, some of the things that I think that happens with the veterans training is just the long referrals that happen, because sometimes the vets would come to the office, they'd be treated, but sometimes they needed more extensive treatment than their budgets allowed, and so we would write a referral for them. But it seemed like that referral just took so long, okay? And sometimes the patient would have to come back to the office to get the emergency treatment, say for instance, if there's a tooth that could be saved, and you referred it to the Veterans Administration, to that dental department, well, the wait would be so long, then the tooth would blow up. And so they'd have to come back and we would have to extract that tooth. And then once you do that, then the price goes up, because now instead of having to deal with that one tooth, you're now having to put a bridge or a partial in, and then they cannot afford that, so you have to refer that back to them, and then that's that long wait and everything else, and teeth can shift, and the dentition can change and everything else, and then it just keeps escalating. So the longer you work, the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
That's right.
So.
And tell me this, because you are a veteran, so thank you for your service. Can you tell me a little bit about your background so that the viewing audience knows a little bit more about the service that you have extended to this country?
I have 32 years of military service. I did 15 years in the Air Force and then 17 years in the Navy. And the reason that I transferred is because the Navy came to me with a better deal. It really did. After I got off active duty, I stayed in the reserve for the Air Force, and I ended up becoming the Chief of Dental Services for the 917th Tactical Fighter Wing Hospital at Barksdale Air Force Base. And then I got moved to Lackland, which is now combined with Kelly, but I was the Chief of Dental Services for the 433rd Military Outlet Wing Hospital. And then the Navy came along, and they made a better offer, and I took it. And so I ended up, I started out as the executive officer and dental officer of the NSA Bahrain, which was a Navy unit. And then I became the executive officer of the dental detachment at the Naval Operations Support Center. Was on OST, and then we moved to Ellington. And then from there I became that commanding officer. And then from there I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and I was the executive officer for the 24th Dental Company of the 4th Dental Battalion of the 4th Marine Logistics Group. And then from there I became the senior dental executive for Reserve Affairs for the Pensacola Naval Hospital, Pensacola, Florida. And then from there I became the executive officer for Reserve Affairs for the Naval Hospital in San Diego. And then that was my last tour, and then that's when I retired after 32 years. All along that same time running a law practice and a dental practice.
So you say law and dental?
Yes.
Okay, at the same time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is my 28th year of practicing law.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, yeah, 28. I passed the bar in 91.
Okay, excellent. Well, you've had your hands full for quite some time, but thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Now, let me ask this. When you get out of your service and you're out and you're in the world and you're someone who is looking to be extended certain benefits because you've served this country as a veteran, what do you think are some of the obstacles our veterans face? What has been your experience?
Well, there's two tiers.
Mm-hmm.
If you get to retire from the service,
Mm-hmm.
you get what they call TRICARE for life.
TRICARE for life.
Right,
Okay.
which means my medical and dental expenses are covered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't retire from the service, then it all depends on how long your service is
Mm-hmm.
as to what Veterans Administration benefits you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends on what your discharge is.
Yeah.
Because you have honorable discharges, you have general discharges, you have less than honorable discharges, you have bad conduct discharges, which those in the vets know they call those bad chicken dinners. And then you have dishonorable discharges.
Okay.
From other than honorable down to the bad conduct discharges, your VA benefits are taken away from you.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you get them back is if there's a possibility, and we have done some of those too, to get those discharges upgraded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if you don't get your discharges upgraded, you don't get any benefits. I don't care how long you serve short of retirement with the military. They just throw you away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if you do have those benefits, a lot of times in the VA system, they have the stumbling block. Understand, even though you are a veteran, the way that the rules are still written, a lot of times you can't get services unless they're service connected, which means you had something that happened to you in the military didn't finish treating you for it, you're out now here in the world, then the VA picks it up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times if you don't have a service connected disability, you don't get any VA services. So a lot of times you see these vets out here, that's why sometimes you have to go to, and I am licensed before them in practice, the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, because sometimes you have to have those claims adjudicated, and then the individual can get services. But if you don't do that and actually prove the service connection, they won't treat you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, Dr. Willie, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I thank you for sharing your story, your personal story, and then your experiences since becoming a veteran in terms of what you see in terms of delivery of healthcare and the slow wait times. I appreciate your service. I know that it is Veterans Day, and so I want to wish you a happy Veterans Day.
thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And just want you to know that it's our job to advocate for you. And so as there are issues that arise or that we should be made aware of, we've got to advocate for those. And so I just want to thank you for your service and thank you for your willingness to share your perspective about what's going on in the community as it relates to issues affecting veterans.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.